once I have something incredibly tight, that then it just became about finding bits that could just throw it off a little bit. Just moments that don't take away from how tight we are, but can just remind you that we're not living on this grid. Sometimes the impression of a lot of things is more powerful than a lot of things. So, if you mute half of it, it actually starts to sound bigger. Quick note on double tracking. Without the double, it's too precious. It's actually less sad, the double. That dissonance, of that rub of not perfectly matching yourself, it actually feels like, that phrase, I'm besides myself. That's an amazing phrase. It's about dissonance. It's about, what's the perfect word? It's about, oh my God, I know this word. Disassociation. So one vocal. Trying to move on. Very present person talking, two vocals. Scaling an ice wall, trying to move. It's almost like a blurred human. You like feel the person's ghost too. So yeah. I love that for a song like this.
But that is a double of that one take.
No, I sang it twice.
You sang it
twice.
Yeah. But it's not the second version that you're...
No, this is one take. So this is V1.
Yeah.
Trying to move on. Things seem to fade now. Living with heartbreak. There's no solution.
You hear what that song is. And it's lovely, and I was very happy with that song. But when a song means so much to you, you find yourself searching until it's truly that. And I would say this is one of my favorite recordings I've ever done. So I had that version, and then there was another version. I had got all my harpsichords and whatnot that I showed you on I'm Not Joking. So I have all these new harpsichords I get. I go back to New York.
Living with heartbreak. Every joy.
Someone has just watched Amadeus, and this is beautiful to me, but it's a little bit of a bastardization of the form of the song, right? And so then that's when I call Laura, who engineers and mixes everything with me, and have one of those hard conversations where I'm like, take this session and this session, these parts of it, put them together. I just get like, I need to hear it. So I put the two together. I put back in my acoustic guitar and my other vocal take, and now these are the two on top of each other.
Living with heartbreak, every joy is just a reminder.
Once I heard that, I started to see a path to finish the song, which was going to be an acoustic song with an incredibly ornate amount of production that would secretly be in there.
What is something you do in production that people wouldn't notice but actually makes a huge difference?
Muting a lot of vocals. So like sometimes the impression of a lot of things is more powerful than a lot of things. So I'll be specific. So if I want like it sound like a big vocal part with a lot of people, it's like often you're like, 5-track, 10-track, a bunch of harmonies, tandem here, a lot of vocals, right? And then you get into the session and you're looking and mixing and you realize that you're kind of hitting those sonic walls. So, if you mute half of it, it actually starts to sound bigger because there's more space for those vocals to go places and for each one to be more heard. So that's something that, if I played A and B, you might not hyper notice, but it's doing a very like subtle thing where it's like breathing by being less. So there's a lot of like at the end, like muting and making sure that that stacking is doing what I want it to do, not what I think it's doing because I stacked it. Which is a really interesting tone. Kind of gives you like Lindsey Buckingham tones. So now I have all these like sort of staticky, weird hitting baritones and traces. And they're following along and then also giving me my line. And they're a bit sloppy, but in context, the slop when you have something that's really programmed is... They add a little, like, it's almost like Fleetwood Mackie, like a little, just like, once I have something incredibly tight, let me go back to the origins, you know. That art makes it so rigid that then it just became about finding bits that could just throw it off a little bit and get on the Moog with some delay. You know, little bits here and there.
Yeah.
That's just a Moog with delay. Told the drummers to go in and just start messing around with some fills. Just moments that don't take away from how tight we are, but can just remind you that we're not living on this grid. And that's something I do very often. So if I mute everything and just kind of give the, I guess we could call them like personality bits, they kind of sound interesting on their own because everything is so tight in a song like this. And so I'll do a lot of tracking that's just vibe, just like literal vibe tracks. And they kind of, even though they're all different instruments, they're really doing the same thing. Almost like if my band was an orchestra warming up, is how I see it.
Our partners at Tape It have just released their brand new DENOISER plugin. Nice. This is Tape It's new, fully automatic, studio quality DENOISER. Drop it on any track and it lowers or completely removes the noise floor. It works on vocals, instruments, band recordings, podcasts, noisy neighbors, vacuum cleaners, and even long sessions with changing noise, all while keeping your recording sounding completely natural and artifact-free. Trained on years of recorded real-world noise, the algorithm adapts to changing environments instantly, so you can add it to your session and trust the output. Now available for use in any DAW and as a standalone desktop app, the combination of its effortless workflow and sound quality is unmatched. To find out more and to get a special launch month offer of 50% off, head to tape.it/denoiser and hear the difference for yourself. Are you nearly done?
If you look at like this automation here, just you know, basically I treat Pro Tools like I would treat a board. You know, manual automation isn't super common on Pro Tools, you know, because everyone, you just start drawing it, but like it's so, you know, that's what you would do with a fader. You know, you go in, you say, I want this burst to be, then go away, and then,
Right.
you know, that was obviously a bit wild, but so I automate everything, as you can see, like that. So, you know, this is an example of a song where I took an acoustic version and then I took a really esoteric version, put them together, and then automated the whole thing so it just lived as more than an acoustic track. I almost wanted these memories to be there. And that was also a cool thing I did with these vocals, which, you know, kind of had this idea of like a string part, which I mapped out. And I thought, okay, this will be the cello. These will be kind of pentagon, bum, 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 and then there'll be like some plucked violin going like, huh, huh, huh. Put it all together. So I kind of wrote this stagnant little string part that I would do and thought I would send it to Bobby and have strings recorded. And then I realized, you know, this person doing it drowned in reverb is way like sadder. It feels like it's like blips of memory. So that's a perfect example of like, you know, in my head, I'm like, okay, the strings will come in here. And then I do that, not even thinking, you know, it's just one take, you know, they're kind of pitchy and just doing what they do. And they've got reverb on them to make it kind of sound cool. And then you hear it and Whenever something gives you a special feeling, like I thought, glory to the ones who were left, hallelujah. And then I hear all these people going, dun, dun, dun. It made me think of all the people stuck on Earth. Like, that's all of us, like, running around. Someone's like, and someone's like, Papa. And I wasn't like, I'm going to make this little chorus of everyone running around and trying to have a life. But you hear it, and then you think of something bigger than the music.
Yeah.
But the real aha moment was, I'm like, it's running through my head. I still feel our pack every time I'm on the edge. We should talk. As soon as I said we should talk, I remember we didn't know where to go from there. And that's when we realized, to go to that suspended feeling and to bring in the really sad stuff. This Juno.
We should talk.
That's such like a clearing moment, like so introspective. And so that's what I first had. And I just didn't think much of it because, usually, when I think about Born to Run a lot. The chorus is Tramps Like Us, Baby, We're Born to Run. Bruce is great at this. I'm on fire. These sort of like tiny choruses. So sometimes I write a tiny chorus and then I think to myself, oh, I got to write a chorus. And then I go home and it's not that I say, oh, I just wrote the best chorus of all time. I just say, I don't really want anything else. That's the whole sentence. Like, what am I going to do? Like, we should talk. I'm trying to lift it. It's like, that's the goddamn chorus.
Running through my head. Yeah, I still feel our pack every time I'm on the edge. We should talk.
It's the whole goddamn sentiment. There's nothing else to say. I guess I could say it again.
We should talk.
And then I could get a little cute with it and just say we should.
We should.
And I was so happy with it because it kind of came out of nowhere. So then I start doing little things. So then it's like, okay, well, let me make it a little more clear that it's the hook. So I put a TC Helicon on one of the vocals.
We should talk.
Which clearly wasn't even set to the right tuning, but it's cool. Put another
We should talk.
few other voices.